Why is there an ache and longing that widow's fires brings? If you're like I was, you may have found yourself at 10:30 p.m. searching for comfort or connection in text or on social media. Maybe it's the heaviness of loneliness in an empty bed in an almost unfamiliar room. Something is missing, yet all the furniture and fixings are just as we left them. Perhaps it's the confusing pain of missing him deeply while also longing for touch or just someone else to hold us to simply feel less alone. Today, I want to answer a different question today, which is why does widow's fire happen at all? So, hey, wise soul. I'm Patience McGrane, and this is Patience in the Morning. And I'm curious, why do our bodies awaken longing and desire in the midst of such deep and often harrowing heartbreak? Why does widow's fire happen at all? I'm going to briefly share 4 pieces of widow's fire. It's trauma regulation, identity reconstruction, or the bodily grieving process, hormones, and chemistry. I invite you to listen with patience and kindness toward your body and yourself. 1, trauma regulation. Your nervous system is trying to protect you. When we lose a partner, no matter the nature of the relationship, our entire being shifts into survival mode. Our nervous system is dealing with shock, fear, loneliness, the endless now what, the secondary losses, the solo parenting, and restoring our lives. Beneath all of this, our bodies are filled with stress chemicals such as cortisol and adrenaline. So while these are meant to help us in times of danger, when they remain elevated, they can leave us feeling anxious, restless, exhausted, or just numbed out. Our bodies remember that certain things used to calm us down. So certain things like being greeted when we walk through the door, cuddling up on the sofa as we watch our favorite show, sex that ended with us curled up against his warm chest, his hand on our back while we stood together just waiting for our table. Just the familiarity of him and the life we shared. Such moments were not only emotional and deeply, deeply physical. So presence, touch, and intimacy once helped our nervous systems, our bodies, move from distress to safety. So when grief turns our world upside down, our bodies may reach for the quickest path they remember to safety. That's touch, closeness, just the feelings of being seen, of wanted and known. It's like our nervous system is saying, I'm so flooded with all of this stress, right? Where is that thing that always made all things seem better, even for a little while? That thing used to be, well, your partner. Now, widow's fire can appear as our bodies are searching for the person we lost. And when it cannot find him, it may seek comfort elsewhere. Yes, like a replacement. Is this always the wisest kind of comfort? No, not necessarily. So it is completely understandable that our nervous system, our body would seek out relief in this way. So be kind. Identity reconstructions. Number 2, who am I as a woman now? Widowhood does not only bring heartbreak, it also can deeply affect our sense of self. We're no longer his wife, his partner, or his girlfriend in the way that we once were. We may now kind of carry these new names like widow, single mother, or the one who has lost her partner. Nonetheless, we are women with bodies, memories, and a capacity to love and connect, even if we feel really unhinged right now. So widow's fire often wakes up these questions for us, such as am I still attractive to anyone? Am I allowed to be sexual without him? Am I a caregiver only and a house runner or maybe a chauffeur for my kids now? Or do I still get to be a lover, a partner, a desirable woman? Desire can gently bring these questions to the surface. So, in this way, Widow's Fire is not only about physical longing, it's also about rediscovering who we are as a woman. So, part of us is trying to figure out, like, who am I? Like, sexually, relationally, without this person that I've been with, this person who knew me, my body the best. This is a major shift. It is natural for our bodies to move between feeling kind of closed off at times and then full of desire or wanting to be seen. So you're not too much for having these questions or having these feelings. You're a woman. You're being you're gently rebuilding. Yourself, your life, your identity, and you didn't choose to be in this position right now of restoring your life. So, number 3, bodily grief. Mourning does live in the body, it lives under our skin. We are often taught that grief is mostly emotional: sadness, anger, loneliness. But grief is also physical. It lives within us. It shows up in our chest, with tightness, with heaviness. It shows up in our stomach, with nausea, stomach ache, knots, shows up in our bodies, in the muscles. It's very hidden in this tension and fatigue, and it shows up in our skin, right? The tingling, the hotness, just that craving to be touched, that hunger. So for some, grief shows up like insomnia. It's panic in the body. I can remember like my heart at times in the middle of the night when I was asleep, like waking me up with like this palpitations. I'd also would say it shows up with feeling frozen or numb. Also that intense yearning or desire, right? This need to be touched, to be held, that sex. So Widow's Fire is simply one way our body expresses mourning. So our body remembers the way our bodies fit together with theirs, the sounds of intimacy, the closeness, the feeling of being wanted, being seen, and not just needed. Our bodies do not separate grief and longing as clearly as our minds might wish that it did. Sometimes powerful urges for intimacy arise as a way of expressing just how much we miss being held, how much we miss our partner, how much we miss being adored. That doesn't mean we want to replace him. It means our bodies are grieving the loss of a unique relationship, often one that was intensely physical and nurturing. So when Widow's Fire arises, instead of wondering, what's wrong with me, we might gently say, oh, this is my body remembering that I was loved and that I love somebody. Like, this is grief too. Lastly, hormones and chemistry. So number 4. So none of this is just hormones, but hormones do play a real role here. After your partner dies, especially under high stress and poor sleep, a few things change. Cortisol, our stress hormones, they go up, which can mess with our mood, our appetite, our sleep. In fact, the cortisol levels often, they're often the same in the morning and the daytime and then the night after bereavement. This is not how cortisol naturally kind of shows up. Naturally it spikes a bit in the morning, like within the first 30 minutes, and it goes up. And then it starts to come back down as the day goes on. And so by the time it's bedtime in the evening, it's down again. So that's why then we can relax and go to sleep. But after bereavement, that's not how it works. So oxytocin, this is the bonding hormone. This is the love hormone. It drops when someone we love dies. Dopamine and some of the other feel-good chemicals, they drop too. They become harder to access because, the enjoyment and gratification pathways, they get disrupted due to loss and grief. So your body remembers, your body is remembering that touch, the closeness, even just the everyday interactions, the playful connections. They release all of these good chemicals like oxytocin, dopamine, prolactin, serotonin, these endorphins. They act like the body's natural pain and stress relievers, and they help us feel love and joy, contentment. They help us feel calm. They help us feel safe. Right? So this is why belonging can feel so strong. It is your body's way of seeking relief. It needs relief from this grief. It's seeking the warmth and it's seeking safety. So there's a little bit more here. So if you're under 45, your baseline hormone levels might be higher. And then if you're moving through perimenopause or menopause alongside grief, your system may feel especially unsettled. So you're going to be dealing with hot flashes, mood changes, sleep disruptions, and just like that shifting desire that comes and goes for no obvious reason. And this is because estrogen begins to decline, comes lower levels naturally of oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin, these endorphins that are also dropping due to loss. So our bodies are losing them anyway. And now we're desperately in search of this comfort and relief, and in search of them as we search for the person that we lost. And we're trying to restore ourselves in finding a balance, right? And then there's, again, that natural thing that happens to our bodies. Our bodies is working also in a natural way to come to this place of rebirth that has nothing to do with the death of our partner. So you're not imagining that your body is more intense or depleted than it used to be. There is a real internal chemical storm of chemistry that's stirring and happening inside you. It is all layered on top of this heartbreak and all the responsibilities of life and parenting. So knowing this does not mean we must act on every urge of widow's fire. No. But understanding what we are reaching for when we're flirting, when we seek touch, when we want sex, we just want to replenish our bodies with these doses of these feel-good chemicals that aren't as easy to access. So we can gently kind of let go of any harsh self-judgment towards ourselves. We can remind ourselves that, my body is responding just like bodies do in times of stress and loss. So I invite you to kind of take a pause with me. So if you're able to, maybe close your eyes. If you're not, keep them open. Simply do what feels comfortable to you. And I invite you to put your feet firmly on the floor and then just notice them, press them gently on the floor, the ground. And then notice your body. And start to notice maybe the toes and wiggle them. Just bring some softness. Maybe soften the glutes, wiggle your hands, your fingers. Let your shoulders relax. Sometimes there's tension in our jaw. Let that relax. Just notice where you're holding tension and invite that space to soften. And then if you like, you could place one hand on your heart and the other on the upper part of your belly, kind of close to the ribs, but still on the abdomen. I'm going to invite you to breathe. So we'll breathe together for 3 rounds. And in this breath, we'll breathe in through the nose for 1, 2, 3, 4, and then hold out for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So on the exhale, it's ha, just sighing out the breath, okay? So let's begin. Breathing in through the nose for 1, 2, 3, 4, into that lower hand, the belly and the ribs, and then exhale it out. Let's repeat that. Breathing in, 1, 2, 3, 4, exhaling. Breathing in, 1, 2, 3, 4, exhale. Just letting all the air out. Now you could continue breathing if you like. You can keep your hands there, or you could bring the bottom hand to meet the heart and quietly say, my body is trying to help me survive. I don't have to understand all of this right now. I am having a normal bodily grief response to something tragic. And that's it. Just taking these small check-ins throughout the day. Let your nervous system know, I'm here, I'm listening, I support you. So I have also, a reflective question for you. So feel free to journal. You might just jot it down. You can pray over it after this is over. Just a thought to consider. So if I could embrace my widow's fire with kindness instead of fighting it, what might it be trying to protect or restore for me? Right? So maybe the widow's fire is protecting us from feeling invisible. Maybe it's, trying to restore a sense of being cherished, right? To not have to be responsible for everything, to not having to be the strong woman. Maybe it's trying to keep us from shutting down entirely and collapsing. We don't have to love widow's fire. We don't have to act on widow's fire either. We're allowed to meet this part of our experience with kindness and curiosity rather than harshness. This is a normal part of grief. So in closing, widow's fire arises because our nervous system, our sense of self, our bodies, and our hormones are all working, sometimes awkwardly or chaotically. They're working to help us stay alive, safe, and connected in a world that has changed so suddenly. So we're not broken for wanting. We're not disloyal for longing. And we're not alone in this fire. So in the next video, we'll explore how to turn this understanding into safety. Safe ways for our body, for our hearts, our children, and our future, while we appreciate the wise women that we are. So until then, may you treat your body as a tender friend who's doing the very best she can to carry both love and loss. And thank you so much for trusting me with your grief. May you move forward with a little more love, and remember that you are love. You always have been love itself. And if this talk spoke to you, then please consider liking it, subscribing, or sharing it.